Welcome. You're listening to How I Did That, a storytelling podcast. Let's jump into today's episode.
Hello, Vipul.
Hi.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent.
Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. My name is Vipul. I'm just a biologist, I guess. And basically just I just finished my degree in biology from Wayne State about 6 months ago. I'm 25 years old. But yeah, I've had like a long and interesting journey, I would say, to the point where I am at this point. I'll be applying to medical school in about 11 months, 10 months or so. Just wanted to like talk about, the journey and like all the experiences I've gathered and what I've found to be helpful throughout my undergrad and like, just what I've enjoyed in the whole pre-med journey so far. That
Nice.
kind of thing.
Cool. So bring us back to high school. Did you always know that you wanted to get into medicine?
Yeah, no, I did not. I had no idea what I wanted to be, but I do have a sibling, an older sibling, about 2 years, and he wanted to be a doctor, so, and I also have like quite a bit of family that are doctors too, so, but I personally did not feel at the time that like, okay, like I want to be a doctor or anything like that, no. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just really like to be on the computer a lot, so I was like, oh, well, I'll go to school for computer science or something,
Oh,
so that's what I ended up doing.
Did you do high school in Michigan?
Yeah, I went to Utica High in Shelby Township.
Okay. And after high school, you went straight into, so you wanted to do something related to computer science, so what did you start out doing as your undergrad, or was it always bio?
Out of undergrad, basically, I went to Oakland University for 1 year, and I went there for what I thought would be computer science, I suppose. I never ended up taking any computer science courses, but that's what I was going for, and I ended up like struggling in pre-calculus. Like that was like the worst class ever. Just that one class that felt like a wall in the middle of the road sort of thing. Like I just couldn't break it, and so I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what to do. So I just ended up just like, I was like, you know what, maybe I should go to India, and so then I went to India for a year, and I just felt like I needed like a change of pace. Perhaps that change of pace was actually like far beyond what I thought it would be, and that was way worse than Oakland.
So,
to be honest.
What'd you end up doing in India?
I went to an engineering college. I used to live with my grandfather in Delhi. And basically just lived there for a year. It's, and all throughout the seasons, like, and, it's important to mention that because in India, the temperature that's like outside and the temperature that's inside the house, that's very identical pretty much. Yeah. So when it's like 50 degrees outside, it's pretty cold, and it's cold inside too, like that, just that cold. Basically, I just lived in Delhi, which is, I guess, the second most polluted city in the world. It's a very different life out there, like somebody that growing up in America, like I did, from like childhood, going out there, it's quite the culture shock, to say the least. And not only that, but it's just a struggle. Like, the water, like you gotta worry about like, so many illnesses, and the mosquitoes. They have like multiple diseases that you don't want to get, but they're kind of inevitable. It's just like rolling the dice, and like malaria and dengue and all kinds of things. So yeah, it was quite the struggle. Like the water supply also isn't very clean. So I ended up like starting to go bald because of the water. So in the mornings I would have to get up and boil water and use that to wash my head because I was like losing hair. It was terrible.
What? How'd you start going bald from lack of water?
No, not lack of water, just like contaminated water.
Oh. So then you were in India and you enrolled in engineering college, and how long were you there for?
I was there for 1 year.
1 year. And what engineering stream was it?
It was computer science.
Oh, okay. Kind of like computer engineering. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I think software.
And then were these like core computer classes you were taking, which was different than the computer degree you were doing at Oakland? Or were the classes kind of similar?
I never actually ended up getting to the computer classes at Oakland, you know. But yeah, I was in like C. I think we were in C programming, not like C++ or anything C, which is like I suppose more basic.
Yeah.
And what's it called? Just like really really high level math that I've never encountered in my life.
Oh wow.
Like I mean, I never made it to calculus, you know. So like.
So would this have
like
been
beyond calculus, like?
Would this have been like? If you were, would this have been like if you were in the undergraduate program at Oakland? It was like the analogous program in India.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. But it was like way harder.
Yeah, it was way harder. It was just a completely different system. Because over there in India, what happens is in 10th grade, they basically have to decide like what do they want to do, and the two big options are like either like engineering or medicine, like one or the other, or you can do I think like economics. I think they call it like commerce, but yeah, you have to pick a stream, and then based on that, like your 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, basically like those 3 years, you guys all like segregate from your classmates into like whatever field that you're going into. So if you want to be a doctor, for example, you would just be taking like biology and chemistry and biochemistry and organic chemistry and all that kind of thing in high school itself. Like we don't really, a lot of schools don't really offer like to that extent, you know. I'm talking about like classes that I took in my undergrad here. It seems like they start to prepare you for those types of classes in their high schools.
Oh, I see.
And so the people who were in my class and stuff, they had been training to be in engineering school for like the last 3 years of their life, you know. They took like they've been doing calculus and physics and, you know, mechanics and all kinds of thermodynamics, all those classes. They like, it was my first time ever encountering it, and yeah, like it was like really really tough. Like I couldn't keep up at all. Like I couldn't even understand, like fathom.
Oh wow!
Anything, you know?
So would this was like what first year would have been like you know how you were in first year at Oakland, so this was the first year of that program in India, or did you go to second year because you had already done like a first year back in America?
No, it was the first year.
That was the first year.
Like
yeah.
I started over again.
I always wondered because in India and other countries near there, their curriculums are a lot harder, but what do they do in their fourth year and third and fourth year if they're learning so much of this in advance? Or do they not have 4-year programs? Is it only like a 3-year program?
No, they have a 4-year program.
Oh.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you the answer to that because
I always wondered that. Or maybe they just do a lot more advanced, like stuff you would do in your master's, they would do in their undergrad.
Yeah, I think they do because a lot of the people that I've met here that came here for their masters, that did their engineering degree, like their undergrad in India, they find it like not that difficult, you know.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
The maths, they say the maths is pretty easy. Like, you know, they don't struggle too much. It seems to me, anyways. I'm like, you know, it's just based on, like anecdotal to like my experience. Yeah, basically finding them impossible.
Finding them possible, and after a year, did you pass all your classes, or like, don't you have them semester-wise? So after one semester, did you realize you couldn't do it, or you kept going for the whole year?
Yeah, no, I didn't pass any classes. Like,
so do you get your results at the end of the year? Are they not semestered like we are here? Like if you don't pass the first semester,
no, they're semesters.
Oh,
they're
they are.
So what happens is, like, if you fail a class, you would just have to like make it up at some point. Like they
I see.
administer an exam at some point or something. I don't know, but something like that. I'm pretty sure is how it works. But no, I didn't pass any. Like it was completely out of my reach.
Oh wow!
It was impossible.
You know what? I was
absolutely
looking.
Impossible. So it was kind of hard to like struggle that I was having was I was falling sick a lot,
Mm-hmm.
like really, really sick. Ended up like in the hospital probably like 5 times in that 1 year.
Oh, wow.
Like from some kind of infection. Who knows, to be honest. They just like come in, they give you like some kind of antibiotic. If it's hoping it's a bacterial infection, then like an hour later they'll come back, they'll give you an antifungal. An hour later they'll come back, give you an antiparasitic. They just like they just literally just go down the list and just give you drug after drug until something works, basically.
That's
so it's kind of scary.
That's scary because they just keep giving you medicine after medicine without looking at the side effects of just like giving you all of these things, because over here you're just prescribed one thing at a time pretty much for one disease or whatever is going on, right? It's like doctors like, take this, not take this if it doesn't work in the next hour, I'll try this, then I'll try this, then I'll try. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be like more emergency type situations over there because like your fever spiked and like you obviously need like something to work like quick, because I think I looked at the statistics and I think it was something like 1 in 3 deaths or like 1 in 4 deaths in India are due to infectious disease, some kind of infection, whether that be bacterial, viral, fungal, like whatever. But the reason for that, it seems, is like sanitation is a big issue.
And overpopulation. And, like how much can you sanitize even with that many people?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Overpopulation is a huge issue. And for example, like even in Delhi, I didn't personally see this to be an issue in front of me, but it is an issue out there right now. Is like all these homeless people, like they don't have a place to go to the bathroom, so they just like go to the bathroom wherever. You know what I mean? The Prime Minister of India right now, he actually grew up from on the streets, like selling tea at like a railway station, and so he's lived that like life on the street. You know what I mean? Like he knows the struggles and stuff. So one of the big things that he's done is like just open up a bunch of toilets. Like for the public to use and stuff. I lived right down the street from a university out there. It's called Indian Institute of Technology, which is basically
IIT? Like the MIT of India?
Yeah, basically. Like the MIT of India. It's called IIT, yeah.
Your aunt was going there?
Yeah, my aunt was going there, yep.
That's super cool. Did she do her undergrad or like master's from there?
No, she attended there as a PhD.
Oh, that's cool.
But to attend as an undergrad, you have to clear this exam. I think you may have heard it called the JEE.
JEE?
Yep. And that's the entrance. That's the phase 1 entrance exam to IIT.
Oh.
So like, I think the statistic is like really crazy. The JEE is only for IIT, and like almost pretty much everyone that comes out of high school writes this exam. It's the entrance exam to IIT.
That's crazy. I'm pretty sure I've also seen one of those, like, on a YouTube video. They're, like, reviewing exams. But, again, crazy difficult.
Oh, yeah. It's a very, very hard exam. And, like, it's about, like, 1 million students that take it every year.
Wow.
It's a once-a-year exam, I think. And, yeah, so it's very, very hard to get into that school.
Wow.
But
yeah,
also, they do, like, a lot of really good work. A lot of good research, and I didn't really know much about research at the time, but I had no idea what it meant that my aunt was getting a PhD, you know, and I was just hanging out with her all the time.
Nice.
But yeah, it was good. Like she definitely had like quite the impact on my perspective about like education and school and like what's possible and stuff.
Was she doing research in the field of chemistry there?
What's that?
Was she doing research in the field of chemistry there?
Yep. She used to do research in like biophysics.
Ooh.
Basically like studying like protein folding mechanisms and drug delivery, things like that. It's interesting. It's very different. But yeah, I basically had no hope to like even pass a single class, so I gave up at some point, like a few months in, and then I was like, oh my gosh. At the end of the year, I came back and I was like, all right, like I didn't know what to do.
Right. Oh, you came back to America?
Yeah, I came back to America at the end of the year.
Okay.
I was like, all right, like that's enough. Yeah, it was kind of lost for me for a while there. I was into chemistry. I guess my aunt kind of like pulled me in that direction a bit, and I was like, okay, so maybe I'll like study for a placement exam at Wayne State and see like what kind of chemistry class like put me in. So I just like read it, like I was just reading a chemistry book for fun, and like just brought my interest, and ended up taking the placement exam, like scored really, really well, got straight, like passed like the first chemistry class, went straight into Gen Chem, and then I was like, all right, you know what, maybe I should do something in the STEM field, like that's not engineering, something like chemistry, or maybe I'll be a pharmacist or something. So I started attending Wayne State. I took like some intro biology class, and I ended up like contacting someone in a research lab, basically, and his name Dr. Kumar, and I just wanted to like get some exposure on like, okay, like I've heard so much about research before, but what is research? So I ended up in this lab like very, very early, like before even the fall semester had started, because I started as a freshman again at Wayne State, and so yeah, and here I am, and I ended up in this lab and started learning about like all kinds of like techniques and like just things about biology and things I had no idea of. But you know, learning them in the lab and like also seeing the similar things come up in lecture and stuff, and it was like, okay, like that makes sense. You know, finally something is making sense in the classroom for once.
That's exciting. When you finally have that, oh, this, I really like this, I'm good at this moment, when you find what you're good at, that's a very heartening feeling, if that's the word. Opposite of disheartening, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
That's good. So then, what were you doing in his lab? What was his, like, research about?
So his research was, he basically researches, like, various, like, eye disease models. So, things like endophthalmitis, for example, which is inflammation inside the vitreous chamber of the eye, or keratitis, which is like abrasion of the cornea, I guess, which is like more superficial. Like it's like more like let's say you scratch your cornea and you get inflammation and keratitis, or glaucoma, or cataract, like those kinds of diseases. And just basically studied disease pathology, and you know, he actually did like a lot of different things. I worked on like I think at least like 6 different projects in the time that I was there for 2.5 years. Some interesting things were like dealing with like infections of the eye and like bacterial infections that were immune to antibiotics, like very resistant to antibiotics. So we have actually like a lot of patients in the Detroit Medical Center. They get a lot of patients with like eye infection, and they just like isolate like the bacteria and they just send it to us, and then we conduct research on it. We like identify it, and we can do experiments and conduct more disease models. Like, hey, like this bacteria here has caused an eye infection in somebody. Like, okay, we can do some study on this, and like, is it resistant to antibiotics? How about what's going to happen if we put it in a mouse? Like, can we like model a disease and then like maybe propose some kind of treatment for this type of infection? You know, that kind of thing. So it's basically just the bench work, I guess you call it in research.
Oh, that's cool. When I worked in 2 different research labs during undergrad. In that time, we pretty much only did like 2 or 3 projects in each lab.
Oh yeah, it is a very slow process, and you oftentimes don't get good results anyway, or something goes wrong, and then you have to restart an entire experiment.
Tell me about it.
It takes another 8 hours, sometimes 10 hours.
Right.
It is definitely a very slow and tedious process.
Have you ever done, it's something with the proteins where you can basically see the protein, I think it's called PARP something?
Yeah, like some kind of protein quantification.
Yeah.
Basically, in a sample.
Yeah. So it was like a 3-day back-to-back experiment where you would have to like do the cell culture, then you'd have to, I forget exactly what we did, but there were many small steps, and if I missed one step, I would mess up the entire cell line. Those experiments are just so tedious.
It is quite difficult, and actually I think it takes like guidance from someone who's not only like an expert, but also someone who's like well-mannered, like he's got good mannerisms when it comes to like, you know, like doing things properly, avoiding all the contamination. You know what I mean? Like very, very, you have to be like very precise. Like,
when you worked, when you had to like do the cell cultures and stuff, it was in this chamber that you couldn't take the cells out of when you're working. Otherwise, they get exposed to the air, and it was not good for them.
Right,
Yeah.
right. They call it a hood.
Yes,
It's
the
just
hood.
like I think it has like a positive pressure where the air flows up. Either negative or positive pressure, but yeah, because like say if you're dealing with like just like bacterial cells, you don't want them to come into the air and like infect you. So sometimes that could be helpful, but also you have to avoid contamination because you said you were doing like cell culture experiments.
Yeah.
So I've done like quite a few of those as well, like similar ones where you culture the cells and then you can like infect and like look at their shape, and the shapes of the cell like tells you how healthy they are, and then you can like infect them with some kind of bacteria, and then let the bacterial infection like multiply and like sit. You can see like okay, like the cells look like they're stressed, they change shapes. You can write all that stuff down and then give it some kind of drug, and then after all that's done, then what you do is you collect the cells and then you lyse the cells and collect the proteins in there, and then you can run like different kinds of experiments. Like one was called ELISA or Western blot, or just like protein quantification methods.
Right. I think it was a Western blot that I was doing.
Oh, were you doing a Western blot?
Or maybe it was part of the
Like,
process.
Where you were running it on a gel, like a
Yes,
gel
yes. That was one of them.
It's really cool stuff, and you know what? Anyone that is coming in as a freshman, I highly recommend like getting involved in the research because you never know what you'll like.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's freshman is not too early to start. How did you feel about that?
I absolutely did not know anything when I went into that research lab, and I made so many mistakes, but that research professor, she gave me a chance. And I really think it helped me to realize that I didn't want to become a doctor as much as I had thought, or that I didn't like research as much as I had thought. And all of the other things I was doing combined, like when I was in pre-med, it just really made me see, like, I don't like this.
It's definitely not for everybody. Also, another benefit I found from research was, like, the use of the scientific method. And, like, independent variables, dependent variables, like, really understanding those kinds of things because I've been studying for my MCAT recently, and, those things are very, very important. Like, they present, like, experiments and models that you'll see in your research fields, you know what I mean? So it's definitely like very, very beneficial for all of the pre-med students.
You got into research in your first year too, right? That you mentioned earlier?
Yep. I got in like right when I started.
What do you think? What did you think about it? Where I know a lot of students think that they can't start research right as soon as they step into university. They haven't taken any bio classes yet. They don't know anything yet. What's your thought on that?
Well, I started and I barely knew anything at all. I didn't even know what a buffer was. But the people in my lab, they were very willing to like teach me as basically everything from the ground up, like what a cell is. So you can get lucky and get into a lab, and hopefully if you're lucky enough, you can have people like that were as good as mine, where they basically taught you like what things were, how they were, like just all kinds of really, really useful information. I felt like just being in the presence of these people, all these like PhDs and MD PhD students, and like they're just on a different level as opposed to like an undergrad that has like almost no clue what's going on initially, but but over time, it can become very productive if you like really put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. Definitely, you can probably even publish a paper depending on which lab you're in and what they're having you do. But if you're going into a lab, I definitely suggest going into a lab where they're allowing you to research and be involved, and like maybe even work with one of the other people in the lab on a project that's going on, rather than like just coming in and doing maintenance, like making buffers, making plates, and just washing dishes. Like that's okay. Like you can say I'm doing research but where you're washing dishes in the lab, but if that's what you want to do and you just want to check a box, fine. But there's a lot of good research available out there, and a lot of professors like yours, for example, are willing to like allow students to get involved, to use the resources that they spent their funds on, that kind of thing. And so a lot of really great people in academics, and they teach you a lot. like research was definitely one of the most fruitful things for me, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of classes, because I had notoriously struggled like all throughout OU and like in pre-calculus, that was like my mortal enemy, and then all throughout India. But so when I started at Wayne State, I knew I needed like a different approach. And one thing I found very, very helpful, and I think a lot of universities do this, is like they record the lectures.
Mm-hmm.
So I initially just started like, okay, I came in and I said, okay, like I have the recording of lectures. The lecturer can't give something on an exam that they didn't talk about in class. So if I know everything that they talked about and understand everything, then I should be good. So I basically just like started listening to like the audios and or the video if that's available, and just writing every last word the professor said and like thinking about it all and making study guides, and that really like just those recordings, they helped me quite a bit because I was immediately doing really, really well in all the biology courses that I was taking for the first time.
It's a really good approach.
And all the chemistry courses.
They don't record lectures in India, right?
No, they don't.
No. Nice. So this was in your first year, your introductory bio classes. You were doing really well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really tough because I was learning everything from the basics.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get to your third year, you already know quite a bit, and you're in harder classes, but it's easier to keep up because as long as you're trying, because you know so much. But freshman year is just like a different struggle because you just don't know anything.
Right.
You don't know how to study. You don't know like what the resources that are available. Well, you should though. I mean, we had a lot of good resources at Wayne State.
Yeah, we did. When you were in high school, though, did you not take bio in high school? So you had like some level of understanding in first year.
I took it in ninth grade, but it was such a blur, and I came in knowing absolutely nothing.
What's a sad? Yeah.
In a room with people that probably took, AP Bio or something.
Yeah.
There was definitely people in there that knew a lot already off the bat.
Wow. But that's amazing, though, that you were able to. I feel like a lot of people would have just given up in your position, not having known even the basic stuff when they're in a class with people who have done all of this in high school.
Oh yeah, it was definitely I remember just like sitting in lecture sometimes not knowing what's going on, just laughing because I just had no clue what's going on at all. Professors that we had at Wayne State honestly are actually quite good.
Mm-hmm.
So many of them are just so good at teaching. I mean, that's what they live for. It seems like some of them. I don't know if I should say any names here, but what's it called? For like courses like chemistry and mathematics, so we have so many good resources that are available. For example, you were a tutor for them, right? And I needed help in organic chemistry, and I remember scheduling an appointment. I ended up running into you as my organic chemistry tutor.
I think you told me this, and I don't remember.
I think I took Orgo after you. I heard Orgo was difficult, so I was basically auditing the course. So that's another thing. Before I took Orgo, I sat through almost the whole class.
So you were there in the class, but you weren't enrolled in it. That might be why I remember seeing you.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's where we met. I wasn't enrolled, but I was just sitting in class, and actually I should have been enrolled because Wayne State chemistry department actually allows people to enroll officially as an auditor, where you can enroll in the class, you can take their exams and everything, and on your transcript, you're never going to get a grade for the course. You're just going to say audit, and that just shows that you spent an entire semester auditing this course, for free. Wayne State chemistry lets you do that.
Is this only the chemistry department?
As far as I know, the chemistry department is the only one that allows that for free.
Okay.
I had no idea either. I just did it unofficially. I just, got my friends Blackboard login and then started just watching the I was going initially. I was attending in person and started just watching the recordings after, made notes, and then so the next semester when I took Orgo 1, I had already gone through all the Orgo, and I was very motivated at the time. Very, very motivated. That was at the end of my first year, so I was oh my gosh, I have to do well in organic chemistry. Let's do it right now. And then I'll do it again later, and hopefully the second time it'll be okay.
Oh wow! When you
yeah, go on.
When you were auditing the course, did you take the exams as well?
I didn't take them in person, but I took them like off the.
Once they were on Blackboard and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, I worked through the exams. When I came back from India, like I met like a friend of my dad's. He was like bio professor at Oakland University.
Mm-hmm.
He did microbiome. So he's the one who kind of like, all right, like, do you want to maybe do medicine? Because I was like, no, I want to do pharmacy, and he kind of talked me like away from pharmacy and more into medicine. And I don't know. I mean, it was really my decision at the end of the day, but yeah, he gave me a lot of guidance and told me like right off the bat, like, hey, like, if you want to be a doctor or something, like, you have to be the top 10% of your class. If you're not the top 10% of your class, don't even think about it. That kind of thing. So really set the bar.
After your first year, what like, aside from what you just discussed, what else did you do in your undergrad that prepared you to be able to apply to med school in the future, that you think, I've done all of these different things, I can put them on my application?
Yeah, a big one at that time in that early stage was like research, because I had started right off the bat. I wanted to get involved in more clubs. I went to like one, it was called Globe Med. We would like meet weekly and stuff, but I was never like involved in the board or anything. I was just like a member. Yeah, that's like one thing I wish I had done actually, is like been more involved in the clubs and like probably tried to have like applied to like some board positions or something. Because I know like a lot of schools like to see like good involvement, but I was just a member, so that's one thing I was just doing, like talking about like various like medical health disparities or and like equities and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, I started to get involved in peer mentoring at the beginning of my third year. So that's something I actually wanted to mention. So when I was in organic chemistry, like although I had seen it before in the summer, like when I got there in the fall, we had peer mentors for organic chemistry, and I was still pretty lost. It was like a pretty tough course, and yeah, these people like really helped like basically achieve success in the course. Like they're just basically like students who have taken the course already, and they hired them because they've done well, and they're basically hired to sit in lectures with us. And I remember like peer mentors would be sitting in lectures, walking around, answering questions, helping you figure it out. That was very, very helpful. So when I had finished my second year and I was done with organic chemistry, I was like, okay, I want to be a peer mentor too, because I feel like I could be good at that, So I ended up applying to bio and to orgo, but the timings were off, and like I had already accepted the bio position, so I couldn't apply to orgo anymore. And so for the first year, I was actually just peer mentoring biology. I started with like intro bio, and then for the first semester and the second semester, I did like cell bio. And it's about like 140 hour commitment per semester. So, I thought, hey, I'm getting paid. And also, like, this is something that I feel like, firstly, I enjoy it. And secondly, I can put this on my application, because this is like a leadership role that you're basically assuming as a peer mentor. You're trying to help students. You're trying to lead them to like success in whatever course that you're in. And it's pretty fun. You just get paid to go to lectures and stuff, and keep fresh on all the information. And even though you've sat through a class before, it doesn't mean that you just know everything like perfectly, and you still learn things by attending lectures. And like students will ask you questions, and sometimes it forces you to think in a different way that maybe you haven't thought about something in that particular way before. And so it challenges you to think, and like if you can explain things to other people, that means you really, really get it. And I really enjoyed doing that. Helping students like learn all the basic biology, like mitosis, meiosis, and whatever, even like basic physiology and cell biology that we were going through in the intro bio course. And that first semester was really good, the intro bio. Then the second semester was cell biology, and it was also good, but worked with a lot less students in that course. That was before, and then the semester right after that, I applied to organic chemistry, and I became an organic chemistry peer mentor, and started attending organic chemistry lectures. And I was like, I love this, like just getting paid to go to this class that I genuinely enjoy, and like worked with a lot of students. I mean, some of these classes have like 400 or 500 students, and come in and like they tell you that, or they come in with questions, or there's worksheets that either the professor makes or we make, or and basically just work through like a bunch of problems and like see like what they know, what they don't know, try to help them like master the material so that they can score as high up as possible on the exam, basically. And I found this to be really helpful myself as a student, because that's one of the reasons why I ended up actually becoming a peer mentor. I was like, okay, this was really, really helpful for me as a student, and so I want to be on the other side of the table now and do this for other people, and that was really enjoyable. So that's another thing. That's another big thing. Other than that, I would say like I have spent like some decent amount of time shadowing doctors, because I feel like it's important. Like if you want to go to medical school, you should be in the field like with people, like observing like what it's like to be exactly what you want to be. You want to be a doctor, you should see a doctor and see like what their daily schedules are. See like maybe not one doctor, maybe various doctors, in various specialties, just to be absolutely sure like you really want to do this. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, I've done a fair bit of shadowing.
What kind of doctors did you shadow? Sorry.
I've shadowed an ophthalmologist for one, like basically an eye doctor, and then I've also shadowed like an internal medicine, like he's a general practitioner, just basically like family medicine kind of.
Okay. Were these private clinics, or were you in a hospital?
No, they were actually both private clinics.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
But I also shadowed like a cardiologist in a hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, when I was in India, I like, because I have like a lot of family that are doctors, and I spent some time with my aunt, and she's also a doctor. She's an anesthesiologist.
Wow.
So I just wanted to see like how things are done over there as well. But difference between here and in India, basically, the anesthesiologist's job is to put you under, like they call it like you're put under. That means you're under anesthesia. You're knocked out, and they need to keep you stable. And in order to help do that, like they have to know a lot of information about like, okay, like how much glucose is in the blood, how much, they have to have like a full blood work. So in America, before surgery, like the blood work is like instantaneous. Like, all right, like the anesthesiologist got the report. This was like a minute ago. Like this is the status of the patient right now. Like this is what the blood. But in India, how it works is you have to take the sample, send it to the lab, and it's a 4-hour process. So the anesthesiologist gets a report of the blood and its status 4 hours ago. So they have to make some kind of prediction on like where it is at this point 4 hours later. And based on that, that's what they use. That knowledge, that's what they use to give you anesthesia in India.
Interesting.
At least in some places, like where my aunt was working. And she said it's a lot harder and like riskier. And I was like, damn, can't believe that.
Oh, so in India, they have to basically make predictions on how your blood is going to change with before like a surgery or something. But here, obviously, you get the results right before you go into surgery.
Yeah, the system is just not as efficient over there.
How many years do they have to study to be an anesthesiologist? Like, how long did your aunt study for? Because here it's like 4 years undergrad, then 4 years med school, then you like a fellowship or like your residency, right? For another, 3-4 years?
Probably like for cardiology, I think it's like more like 6 years.
Oh, wow. So for anesthesiology, maybe something similar?
Yeah, probably quite, yeah. So what you do in India is you get like an MBBS degree. It's a Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery.
Okay.
And that's a 5.5-year program. After that, if you want to be you can practice as an anesthesiologist, right with that kind of degree. But a lot of people, what they do is they go further, like my aunt did, and they get an MD, which is like in America we just get an MD upon the graduation of medical school, but that's like actually a secondary education past their like medical school that they have to attend for, I think it's like 2 years or 3 years, and then they get their MD, and then after that you can do like fellowships and whatnot. But I'm pretty sure after you're out of school, you're pretty much like good to go. Like you're ready to practice.
Oh, I see. How many years total would that have been?
So it's like 5.5 and 3, so 8.5. And I would, probably like 9 years.
Okay, that's pretty similar to what it is here, I guess. Well, no, here we need more, right?
Yeah, it's in the same ballpark, but yeah, it definitely takes more time here.
Okay.
They don't have undergrad, so they don't have to worry about that.
Well, because they start picking their fields in 10th grade, right? So you have a combined med and
in India, like, if you're, let's say, a 30-year-old person and you never went to school, you can't go back to, college. Like, they don't allow people that old to attend college.
What?
Whereas in America, yeah, so, like,
Aww.
in America, I see people that are, like, 60 years old,
right.
In my classes. And, people are always welcome to come back anytime, you know what I mean?
Right.
But in India, like, you can't, after a certain age, you can't, like, go back. And so, there's a lot of conflict when people have to, like, figure out what they want to do, and, like, what if they're not sure, you know what I mean? But in India, you're just kind of locked in after 10th grade.
Oh, wow, I see. So...
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Different.
So you were saying that you, you did research, you peer mentored, you got to shadow some doctors, and was that, like, the bulk of all the pre-med activities that you were involved in?
Yeah, for the time being. Right after I was finished with my MCAT here, I would like to get, like, a job, like, maybe be, like, a certified nursing assistant. It's like a 2-week, like, you can get, like, a certification and work in a hospital. I want to, like, get a job and at least work, like, 5-6 months before I even apply. So that's something I'm, like, wanting to add on.
With the certified nursing with that nursing assistant certification, you said it's 2 weeks long. I've never heard of that. I don't know how it is in Canada. But 2 weeks doesn't seem like too long for being able to be certified to work in a hospital. Like, what do you get to do?
Basically, as a CNA, you're just taking care of patients that are, like, not in the ER, like, they're in the ward, I think, a lot of the jobs involve, like, cleaning things up and, like, helping patients clean up and stuff like that. I wanted to become an EMT and basically use it as a way to work as a technician in the ER. But basically it takes, like, 6 months to get an EMT license, unless you were to go to a summer course, which takes about 2 months. And so next summer I'll probably be doing that. But in the meantime, I'll just try to score any kind of, like, tech position, maybe even at a clinic, or if I I'll see, like, if I have any difficulty getting a tech position, then I can just go get a CNA license really, really quick and, like, work in a hospital. But that's my goal. Like, as soon as I finish my MCAT, I'm gonna just find a job in the field and gather some more medical experience, because that's one thing I definitely feel like I've been lacking.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's definitely important, as you mentioned earlier, that you got to shadow doctors at least. You mentioned a good point. Shadowing different doctors is important, because even in my industry, being an engineer is not just, like, one of my cousins, right? She wants to go into engineering, and she's like, oh, what is it like? And I'm like, I can't really say that, because every single engineer I know has a different schedule, has a completely different job that they have to do, even within the same major. So it really depends what technology you're working on. You can be in the automotive industry or oil and gas, or, like, there's so many different things. So even with doctors, it's not like you shadow one doctor and you might hate it, but maybe that's not all encompassing of what the medical field is.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And another thing is, people might say, like, oh, I like kids, maybe I want to be a pediatrician. But after shadowing a pediatrician, you might see, like, things that they have to deal with that you might not necessarily be fond of anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that being shadowing and getting that experience is, like, absolutely essential. And I know a lot of schools definitely like to see that you have spent, like, time, like, shadowing clinicians and, like, basically you know what you're in for. You know what I mean?
Right. And then next year, you mentioned that you wanted to get certain certifications, be able to, work in healthcare before applying to medical schools. So after, maybe let's say, like, 5 years in the future, or, like, after you've graduated med school, where do you hope to see yourself? Do you know what kind of doctor you want to be?
I have no idea. So,
no idea yet?
As far as everything I've seen through my shadowing, I would say being an ophthalmologist sounds like a pretty good gig. It's really interesting. I've always been really interested in, like, the eyes, and, like, just because I spent 2.5 years doing research on various eye diseases and stuff. But ophthalmology sounds really cool. But, at the end of the day, I know, like, no matter what, I'm not really ever going to know until, like, about my third year of medical school, when you do your rotations.
Right.
So when I do my rotations and I see like all the specialties, then at that point I feel like hopefully it'll click. But I have no idea. I just know I want to be a clinician of some kind.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I know some friends. Actually, most people I know don't know what kind of doctor they want to be until they start doing those rotations, and then you get the option to pick like your first, second, third choice for residency, right? And then you get placed into a residency. Yeah. I think that was really all I wanted to ask you. I wanted to hear your journey, like as a peer mentor, living in India, and coming back to Wayne State, and with research and everything going on. Not a very linear journey.
Yeah, no, it was not linear whatsoever.
Yeah. Well,
peaks and valleys.
Yeah, peaks and valleys. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Of course, no problem.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning into today's episode, and we'll see you next time.